AI Coach analyzes your sessions and offers a clear, expert view of your teaching, with simple, actionable insights to help you make an even greater impact. We use Carnegie Mellon University's learning principles. You can view the rubric trends across communication, engagement, content accuracy, and instructional clarity. You can click a point to explore the session in detail. This one earned an exceptional rubric score. And you can also see the full breakdown. AI Coach will track how much each person talks, showing whether you're keeping students engaged or doing all the talking. This session shows a balance of talk time and student engagement. If you notice a dip, you can instantly see what happens. Each score comes with a clear explanation. Here, you connected complex literary concepts to real-world ideas. A great teaching moment. And when things don't go as well, AI Coach provides specific guidance, complete with playback, so you can revisit the exact moment. AI Coach also surfaces patterns you might miss, like consistently low content accuracy, so you can make sure that every student gets exactly what they need.
So what we did know is we wanted our tutors to follow the script. We have volunteer tutors. We want them to be able to error correct, and we want them to be able to handle behaviors. Those are really the 3 points of the triangle. We were using a rubric very close to that, but we didn't really have a good flagging system, and that's what is interesting about this. We can look from a centralized location and say, was the session successful or not, without having to do anything except for look at a dashboard or report. We can't be more excited about this because this is a scalable solution. It's just running in the background, doing and analyzing things that we haven't even thought of.
Prior to Pencil Spaces was just a manual entry on behalf of the tutor, which has mixed reliability. And then with Pencil Spaces help, integrating that within the actual system itself, having each session reflection tied to the progression of tutoring curriculum, that being tied to the spaces themselves and all of the analytics that we have on a space and event level alone breaks more things open too.
We know when lessons fail at a higher rate than other lessons. But again, that is really like a one-dimensional system that we're looking at that's pretty binary, but yet we've been able to gain so much of that. So then when you have this running in intelligence with that in the background, you just really see how that can really open things up. But I think the one thing that blew me away at first was we were looking at a breakdown, and it was, there's 2 critical areas and then there's 1 encouragement area with different elements of those. And the suggestion was, hey, the child's not fully engaged, which you could see in the talk time because you saw big blanks of time with the student. So it was not the student's best day, and you could see that right away. But as she was working with the student, really working with the student, the goal was for the student to identify something, and the tutor kept pressing for the child to say it, to identify it. And she finally said, well, maybe you can just circle it. What was crazy was it picked that up and said, hey, you should have gone to this sooner. But then the next thing blew my mind. And it said, you did this same thing later in the lesson and it worked really well. So not only did it identify that she could have done it differently, and it gave her a tip of how to do it, but it also brought back from 15 minutes later in the lesson, she was still having the same problem, but she addressed it immediately that way, and it gave her that praise. And we realized would be so good to essentially get for free to encourage the tutor have almost been completely spot on. From a feedback to the tutor, to have that snippet, to have it pulled together and even for us, our staff knows that they can go to videos, and we know we have really good tutors and we know we have not so good ones. They know they can go in there and within seconds pull up a video to use an example that's good because it's categorized, it's organized, and it's sorted. The idea of rapidly developing a curriculum and testing it with this tool brings up all kinds of, because you can just do rapid cycling on prototyping because of the feedback loops that you'd be getting, because it would just be accelerated so quickly. Yeah.
I mean, we're conducting all of our training sessions remotely on Pencil Spaces, so tutors have firsthand experience with it. And even then, catching the feedback from that, assessing what tutors need help with certain ends of training, and even how we can improve our own training and pacing with that.
One of our staff comments relates directly to that. They said, Steve, what's really crazy about this is we think we know what's right, but this is going to challenge us to think in different ways in what's best for the child. And basically it's that idea that you get insulated and you get focused on what you can control. And yet here's this thing out there listening to the tutor. So if I'm a curriculum writer, how often am I watching a tutor and a student? I'm worried about developing curriculum, but yet this is out there and it's highlighting number one, but also it's providing that data. It's such a data-rich environment. See this laid out over time and what it can pick up. It just blows your mind.
Yeah.
It blows your mind. Here's that session I was totally talking about. So we see, here's the student, so you can see all those gaps in there. Mm-hmm. Billy was fighting on this one. she was working hard. And so here's the soft skills evaluation, and I believe it's this one. I know because I've looked. What I can tell from here is that Sayora did not talk at the usual amounts that a student usually does, and we'll look into that and see how the AI does in picking those out. And then the tutor's talk time as well. Then it really gets into the meat of it here. And so there's two areas: the soft skills evaluation, the content evaluation. So those are evaluations like, hey, this is what you did. We think there's room for improvement. And then you can see that this bar right here, this purplish blue bar, is related to engagement, which relates back to student engagement report. And so that is a time marker that happened probably right at about 7 minutes. And we'll click on that in a second to see it. Same thing here for communication as it relates to soft skills evaluation. And then the final bar right here is excellence highlights. So these are things that really, really went well. So there's a particular interesting thing in this tutoring session that we're going to highlight here and show you the power and the potential of this. So if we just simply click here, about 7 minutes in, student engagement, it automatically scrolls down. And we are taken to 7 minutes and 24 seconds in the video. And this had a medium impact. And what it says is what the AI coach observed was during this phonics activity, the student was resistant to saying the words aloud. You patiently persisted for over a minute trying to elicit a verbal response. And then what it says really quickly is, while your patience is a great strength, consider pivoting to a different response mode. What I found fascinating is in the try this and then, the second sentence says this: you did this effectively later in the session, and introducing it sooner could even be more impactful. So we'll look at something fascinating in that. But I just thought it was cool that the AI pulled that out, that the technique that we shared with you, which was just a point instead of asking the child to respond, could work effectively, and they ended up doing that. So we can play that. We see the interaction.
And think about which one has a different sound at the beginning. So the words are sip.
And so now the tutor has a moment to look to see what the coach said and to have this all queued up exactly where it happened. So in this case, the encouragement from the AI coach was, hey Melly, you went to the student pointing to it instead of saying it, and that worked very well. Don't wait so long next time. And in fact, you did this later in the lesson and it was highly effective.